Hi there, Justin here with Jay Primrose Properties, and today we're going to talk about an important topic, and that is how to avoid cash house buyer scams. So, going to give you some of the top tips of what to look out for. Unfortunately, in this industry, same with pretty much any industry, but there's just some bad actors, some bad characters out there, and so just want to go through some tips on how to protect yourself if you're looking to sell your house, and really what to look out for when dealing with a cash home buyer to make sure they're a legitimate company that really can do what they say that they're going to do for you. So, all right, so let's get into it. So number one, it's really important to verify the company. So check out their website, check out their social media presence if they have one, testimonials, and really just kind of verify that they are who they say they are. Even us, a lot of times we will even give you a recommendation of the title companies we work with, so you can kind of talk to them if you'd like, just to help you feel more comfortable to make sure that you're dealing with a legitimate company. So if it's kind of a fly-by-night operation and they don't have a lot of that stuff, or some of the information they're giving you doesn't quite add up, then that can be a definite red flag for you. The other thing, or another thing to look out for, is an unrealistic offer. So a lot of times when they are promising the moon and moving heaven and earth for you, and it seems a little like too good to be true, that can also be a red flag, just to say this doesn't quite make sense. It seems like they're offering more than the property's worth, or they really aren't disclosing the details of the transaction. So it just seems kind of odd. So typically, if your gut tells you something seems up with these guys, it's something to pay attention to for sure. So the other thing is proof of funds. So if you ask for proof of funds and they're not able to produce that, or show maybe other properties they've worked with, or again other testimonials of other sellers, if they start to get a little squirrely when you ask for proof of funds, typically they might not actually be the ones who can close on the property, and that's just another red flag. They probably can't do what they're saying that they can do, and they might be just trying to give it a shot, but I don't know if you want to roll the dice on something like that. So that can be a kind of a red flag, as if they cannot produce a proof of funds or just show proof of other properties that they've done this for. Another thing is asking for upfront fees. So sometimes they might ask for some money up front, and that's a huge red flag. So your job as a home buyer really is to alleviate a lot of the financial pressure or concerns and make the transactions just simple. A lot of times they're as is, so you should not have to have any upfront cost. There are certain exceptions to that rule if there's tricky things that are in place that you might have to clear up before selling, but that's again, it's like an exception to the rule. Very, very rare, less than 1% of the time. So if they're ever asking you for upfront fees or cash or money of any kind, huge red flag. I would not give it to them, and I would basically move on from that company. Another thing is high pressure tactics. So some of the home buyer companies utilize this strategy. I personally despise this. This is something I personally hate. I never like when someone tries to pressure me into something. But if they seem like they're high pressure and they're trying to force you into something, to me, that's a huge red flag. So at our company, Jay Primrose, we believe in win-win solutions, to where if it makes sense, then yes, we can move forward. But if it doesn't, that's totally fine too. So anytime that you feel pressured to do something, that could definitely be a red flag as well. The other thing is asking for very sensitive information. So really in a real estate transaction, like social security number, even date of birth, a lot of times that should not come into play. The title company might ask that information, but really you don't need to be providing that to a cash home buyer. The caveat to that is on occasion, if they're helping to coordinate with a bank or something like that, sometimes there's a verification, but again, you want to use a specific form from that and not just give blindly your information out. So that's kind of a red flag as well. If it involves title, typically like we would direct you, say, hey, you're going to give that information to the title company. They can handle that for you, but you don't really need to give it to us. There are some exceptions to that if you're helping with something very specific. But again, vast majority of the time, you do not need to give any of that information out ever. So that's another red flag as well. So the other thing, which is lack of transparency. So that's another red flag. So a lot of times like I said, if they're asking for sensitive information or you don't quite understand how something works, or they're kind of dancing around your questions, to me that's a major red flag. So like if there is any time that something comes up that they need information or whatever, it's like I feel like you should always be they should always explain to you why this is happening, or if you do have to provide this to verify that you do have like the legal right to sell the property, you know, we would explain, but we want you to give that to the title company because the title company is going to make sure that transaction is processed and handled correctly. And so then it makes sense that, you know, obviously the title company has to verify you're the legal owner, and so you should be giving them the information, not this person. So I always like to know kind of what's happening and the moving parts, and you don't need to know every single minute detail, but feeling comfortable in the transaction and having them be transparent is super important. So if they don't want to let you know how anything works, or they're acting kind of cloaked in how they're approaching things, to me that's just a big red flag. They should be able to answer any question you have pretty easily, and if they do this full time, they should be more than happy to answer any questions you have in a way that makes you feel comfortable. So and then lastly, this is kind of a big one. This actually unfortunately comes up quite a bit with some companies, is last minute changes in price or even in the agreement. So sometimes what will happen is right before closing, like day before closing, sometimes even after someone's moved, which is just kind of a heartbreaking thing, they might change the price on you, or they change the term of the agreement. And to me, that's just a very bad taste, but also just kind of a way of scamming people. Excuse me, because a lot of times they just didn't have the intention of paying the price that they had agreed upon with you, and then last minute they're going to try and ask for a price drop, knowing that either you've already moved, you're kind of committed, and you feel trapped at that point. So that's a major red flag. There should not be any last minute changes in price or agreements or anything like that. On occasion, one thing I will say to that is, say if there's something comes up on title that might push closing back, that can be a normal aspect of a real estate transaction. Sometimes there is little things that pop up that you have to clear that might take a little bit longer of a closing time, but not like a price drop day before. So that's a major red flag. So those are the things to really look out for when you are trying to avoid real estate cash house buyer scams. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys. If you are considering selling a house, we would love to have a conversation with you, see if we might be a good fit. Again, we believe in win-win solutions, and so we try and leave you better than you found us, or better than we found you. So whether we're that fit and that solution for you or not, we definitely try and help you with your situation. So feel free to give us a call. We'd love to have a conversation with you. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.